Hello and welcome to another video. This is Voorhees Retro 81 and this is the slightly longer than I'd hoped to arrive second part of my top 10 Master System games roundup. Just basically things have been absolutely nuts since I did the last episode of that, and I kind of just randomly decided to do that hard reset video. I was playing that and I thought, this is a really cool game, and it would be really cool if I shot some video of it and shared it with other people. So if other people had been on the fence about it or had never heard of it or whatever, they would be like, oh, this is a cool game. Thank you for letting me know that there is a game that is cool. So yeah, that just kind of happened. And I do promise that there is more Heretic coming. There is at least one video in the chamber with the Heretic Let's Play, so that will be happening again. It's just been time. There's just so much stuff going on outside of YouTube for me at the moment, and yeah, it's always good to come back here and do video though, so don't you worry, there will be content. Oh yes, there will be content. Yes. Right. So, without further ado, so number 5 on my top 10 of Master System games is Lemmings. Now, if you don't know anything about Lemmings, you're either very young, or you live under a rock with your head in the sand, but before you put your head in the sand, you put a paper bag on your head so that you could not see where you were going either. Obviously it's a very well-known game, and so it's kind of a strange one. Lemmings is a game that I really enjoy. I've always really enjoyed. It's got a lot of nostalgia for me because when I was in primary school, which if you're in America is from 4 to 11 years old in the UK, when I was in primary school we had an Acorn Archimedes in our classroom in the upper school. So when I was like sort of 8 or 9, and we had 2 completely non-educational games on it, which we were allowed to play at lunch times. Sometimes when we had indoor playtime, and also. Sometimes during like sort of special days, like, you know, last days before Christmas and such like, and one of them was Lemmings, and so everybody in that class, including myself, has mad crazy nostalgia for Lemmings. I think a lot of people have mad crazy nostalgia for Lemmings anyway, and the Master System is the one system that I've always had Lemmings on, so it's the one I play on, and it's a really good conversion. It's just fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Absolutely no problem controlling it with the control pad, which is something back in the day I remember scoffing at as a kid when like it got ported to like the SNES and the Mega Drive. I was like, you cannot control Lemmings with a controller. All your Lemmings will die. But actually, it's really good, and so that's one in the eye for young me. Anyhow, yeah, really great conversion, great sound, great graphics, great control, really playable. Come back to it repeatedly over and over again. Fabulous game. So number 4 is the Master System Ninja Gaiden, which is an exclusive Ninja Gaiden to the Master System, and as such is a bit of an oddity, because obviously at the time that the Master System was kicking about, it was in direct competition with the NES, and Nintendo were quite surreptitiously trying to cut away competition for the NES, which honestly I don't think they really need to do, because the NES like blew up in the States, and if you blow up in the States you're pretty much sorted for life. But they were doing a lot of shady stuff with licensing, and you know, making sure third-party companies signed up to say that they wouldn't release games that were going to come out on the NES on other systems. So it's very surprising that Ninja Gaiden got to the Sega Master System, and as a big Ninja Gaiden fan, I would actually say out of the series, it's my second favourite, and it's one of the best looking and best best playing of the colour ones. My favourite Ninja Gaiden game is Ninja Gaiden Shadow on the Game Boy, the original Game Boy, which I could check if I had the cartridge in easy reach, but I can't. But I'm pretty sure in the UK that was released as Shadow Warriors, the same way the Ninja Gaiden beat 'em up from the arcades was released as Shadow Warriors, because there was that whole thing in the 80s about you couldn't say ninja because like it was verboten, and it was all like, oh well, if you say ninja to the kids, they're gonna like go and get shurikens and start killing each other with shurikens and such like. And we were all like, look, BBFC and the government, we know what a ninja is. We draw them in the back of our textbooks when our parents and or teachers are not looking. You do not need to rename the turtles to the hero turtles and rename everything with ninja in it to something else. It's kind of funny that they did that with Ninja Gaiden anyway, because at the same time that Ninja Gaiden was out and it was all Shadow Warriors, not Ninja Gaiden, blooming Last Ninja and everything were out on the C64 and the Specky and whatever. So it's like, what are you trying to do here? What are you doing? I mean, what was it? I mean, there was a game on the Commodore 64 called Ninja Massacre, for crying out loud, at the same time. It's bizarre. Strange period of history, anyway. God love the 80s. But yeah, Ninja Gaiden on the Master System is a really great, really surprising game. It just seems weird that it came out at all, but it's really good fun. It's got a fabulous soundtrack. It's one of those games also, it's as hard as all the other Ninja Gaiden games are, but a lot like Shadow, for me, the Master System Ninja Gaiden has quite a good curve, so that like you're always getting a little bit further than you did the last time. And if you actually sit down and practice it, I mean, I've never beaten it, but I've got relatively far into it. And even for 8-bit games in general, but especially for the Ninja Gaiden series, I feel like that's quite an achievement in terms of difficulty curve. Bobble is number 3, and I've got to be wary of time because I start ranting about ninjas and suddenly I lose all of my video. But Bobble is a great conversion of the arcade game. I really like the Master System conversion of Bobble, and I actually prefer playing it to the arcade version, which I have on the PlayStation 2. And I know I've heard people say, oh, well, the Master System version's a bit slow or whatever, but it really didn't bother me at all. And there's something about it, I think probably because it's a bit newer and a bit more, you know, it's a bit more coded with the home market in mind. It doesn't feel as cheap as the arcade version. There doesn't feel like there's as much kind of iffy collision or like, oh, I'm pretty sure I shouldn't have died there type moments on the Master System version. And it's a really good port, and it's well worth checking out. And it's a game I play over and over and over again. Now there's been a bit of a Taito theme to this list to a certain extent, and the second and penultimate game in my top 10 is not going to make any change to that, and that is Sagaya, which is also known as Darius 2. If you know Darius, they are well, if you don't know Darius, I am about to explain them. If you do know Darius, I'm sorry. So the Darius games are kind of like Taito's counterpart to R-Type and Gradius. Their longest running horizontally scrolling shooter series. And for me, and I think a lot of people, I would say, I mean, there were a lot of kind of new adherents to Darius because of Darius Chronicles, but I would say Darius 2 and Sagaya are my favourite. That's my favourite of the Darius games, and I don't think it kind of like it's kind of like the apex of the series for me. And the Master System version of it is just staggeringly good. You know, even before you start considering things like, oh, it's on an 8-bit system, oh, you know, the system's not got the greatest frame rate, oh, you know, it can't handle so much on the screen, etc. It wipes the floor with the R-type conversion, and that's not to say the R-type conversion is bad. I mean, the R-type conversion is in my list, but I mean, just hats off to the team that converted Sagaia to the Master System, because it is a brilliant game, and it's you know, it's as near as, damn it, to that arcade game as you could get with 8-bit technology, and it just plays like a dream. And you know, it's got that fabulous Zuntata soundtrack that's been ported in like a really sort of faithful manner. It's just a great game. I can't say enough good things about Sagaia. And you know, it's if I want to play Master System, I know that's going in at some point. And that's going right in the cartridge slot, right in there. So, and finally, set the entrance pyro off. Here comes number one. Number one is Shinobi. I really like the first Shinobi. I like it in the arcades, I liked it on the Commodore 64, but I love it on the Master System. I'm not quite it's ironically one of those games, like, and anybody who's a retro gamer will know this, it's one of those retro games where it's like, I've never beat it because it's really difficult, but I always enjoy playing it. It's just a blast, and the Master System version of it adds so much extra kind of depth to the arcade thing. I mean, it's something that people seem to have made a point of doing with Master System arcade ports, is kind of adding a little bit to each of them, so that there's not, you know, you're not always, you know, obviously it's an 8-bit system and it can't do like the crazy 16-bit graphics of the arcades at the time and all this kind of such like, but what a lot of people did when they were porting these games across was add bits in, you know, add extra levels, and what's great about the Master System version of Shinobi for me is the kind of upgrade system that you have. So picking up the hostages in the original arcade Shinobi was just to, like, you know, get points and get off the level. In the Master System version, they unlock things, so you can get extra weapons, you can get expansions to your hit points, you can get you can unlock bonus levels, etc, 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 and it adds a whole new kind of like layer to playing Shinobi. And in many ways, I've gone back and I've played the arcade Shinobi a few times since I got hold of the Master System version, and just out of nostalgia anyway, because I used to play that a lot in the arcades when I was a kid anyway. And in comparison to the Master System version, the gameplay just feels lacking. And I know I'll probably, you know, I might catch some heat from people for saying that, but I do just feel like the Master System version is tighter and just a bit more fun to play. And it doesn't change much, but I think it's, aside from anything else, I think it's that the sprites and the sprites are a little bit smaller and the environments are a little bit more spacious. And I think, like, whoever, God, that was pathetic, whoever at Sega put it together definitely sat down and went, look, you know, we've got to put Shinobi in the home market, and we're not going to be able to, you know, because of the limitations of the 8-bit architecture and everything, we're not going to be able to make it so that people can just shove credits into it until they finish it. So we've got to be a bit more wise about this, and it just came out really good. And yeah, that's my top 10. Thank you all for listening. Take care of yourselves, and peace out.